This is the second part of a video series about a group of parasitic aliens. When last we left off, they had just launched a time capsule into space, hoping it would someday reach another race of intelligent life. It was far from the only thing they had launched, however, for it was not long before they sent colonial ships into the very same region of uncharted space, hoping to find life and prosperity. Designing these colonial ships was notably straightforward for the Gabara, since their larval forms would not metamorphosize until they'd eaten enough nutrients. Failing to do so, they could hypothetically live forever in a comatose state. This made the extensive voyages to other star systems a simple matter of time rather than resources. And so, in the span of just a few centuries after the launch of their time capsule, they had gone from living on a single moon to having a thriving colony on every single rocky planet in their star system, and about a dozen orbiting their closest neighboring stars. An interesting story is that of the planet Anubi. Having hailed from a hot, arid moon, the Gabaras were not used to large bodies of water, and as such had never designed anything more intricate than a rudimentary raft for sailing. Anubi, on the other hand, was nearly 90% water, which meant the planet's inhabitants had to quickly and clumsily design competent sailboats. So, while the local sea boys toiled away on the shabby first attempts of a proper boat, literal spacecrafts were flying overhead. And it was on a planet like Anubi that the Gabaras found the first species of sapient alien life. The Kokal were a group of strange, tentacle-laden creatures whose many limbs gave them ample dexterity and allowed for rapid advancements within their culture. That said, they are an incredibly young species that had just reached their early Iron Age when the Gabaras had found them. But of course, after years of careful translation, they showed the Kokal countless technological wonders, technology that this Iron Age society would have taken as magic just a few generations before. But what may be surprising is that the Kokal had a few wonders of their own. As they were native to an ocean-covered planet, they had become masters of the open sea and put the simple boats of the inexperienced Gabara to shame. They had also developed a form of concrete that stood strong for generations, while Gabaran architecture needed constant repairs. But after many years, the Gabarans returned to their own society, leaving the planet uncolonized and allowing it to develop on its own terms. But when they left, many Kokals left with them, opting to integrate within Gabaran society, which, as you might expect, came with its fair share of culture shock. The Kokal, for example, were unsettled by the parasitic Gabara's use of hosts, while some Gabaras were uncomfortable with the Kokal's skin, which produced a never-ending stream of slime in order to stay moist. But overall, the collaboration was mutually beneficial and supported an idea that had existed in the Gabara zeitgeist for generations, that they could learn from any species, no matter the technological gap that existed between them. Problem was, there didn't seem to be much life in the universe. Of the hundreds of thousands of planets they explored, only a couple had any life at all, and of that life, the Kokal were the only sapient species. And so they developed countless seed worlds, where they designed a baseline ecosystem before stepping away and letting nature run its course. Over time, as they gained a better grasp on computer science and genetic engineering, they began to uplift various animals. Not with any express purpose, but just to see what interesting ideas may come from a spider with the capacity for quantum mechanics. Some of these creatures were mechanically uplifted, with mind-expanding computers physically attached to their bodies, while others were biologically uplifted, which is a little more straightforward. But the first major success story with these uplifting experiments were the Mayantarians, a group of aquatic aliens that had originally evolved a similar niche to Earth orcas. After being uplifted, a Mayantarian scientist by the name of Olanun designed history's first fusion drive, an engine that allowed for incredibly fast space travel with very little energy. But the Gabara's newfound interest in genetic modification went beyond sapient uplifting. They also worked on themselves, creating countless designer babies. Some had strictly practical modifications that, for example, adapted them for a particular environment, but others were full-on works of art. This entire period of their history is referred to as the Scattering, both in reference to their rapid expansion across the galaxy, but also to their species, which was taking an exceedingly alien appearance. This was often compared to a drop of blood in a pool of water. As it dispersed throughout the pool, it slowly became less recognizable, but it was still blood. No matter how strange a given Gabara may have looked, that didn't change that they were still, in fact, a Gabara. But not everyone was happy about this arrangement, especially not Yuma Magal, a civil rights attorney who'd been born as a 20-foot-long centipede monster, and had since devoted her life to achieving fair regulations to protect any and all designer babies. Ironically though, one of these regulations technically made the natural Gabaran body plan illegal, since they can't comfortably rest their body weight on just 2 limbs. But regardless, the scattering continued until the Gabara had finally met their second, third, and fourth naturally sapient species. The second was a group of bipedal aliens known as the humans, who had a close alliance with the third, known as the Harlows. Both of these species were already spacefaring civilizations and had similar technology as the Gabaras. But still, after years of collaboration, the Gabaras showed them how to make fusion drives, while the humans shared their advancements in artificial intelligence, and the Harlows their expertise in nuclear power. For many centuries, the Gabaras lived in harmony with the humans, Harlows, Kokal, and countless uplifted civilians. As they were much older and wiser than the other societies, the Gabaras acted as a sort of moral compass to the rest and helped maintain peace. Of course, violence was far from solved, but it was rare for 2 nations from within this planetary alliance to formally declare war against each other, and nearly unheard of for 2 entire planets to do such. This period was known as the Age of Long Poems, but of course, all good things must come to an end. After all, the Gabaras were destined to meet one more sapient species. The Yoke were a group of apathetic warlords that destroyed entire star systems at a time, all in pursuit of their monolithic superstructures. After a decades-long war against the invading Yokes, not only was the Gabara's homeworld destroyed, but the entire star system, alongside several of the neighboring systems. These were the largest centers of trade in Gambaran society, and with their destruction, all that was left were the countless planets in the Outer Rim, a sort of frontier full of underdeveloped worlds, many of which couldn't sustain themselves without the help of the center. Those who weren't taken in by the humans or Harlows were forced to fend for themselves, some were flung back into a sort of Stone Age, and many of the more artistic body plans were driven to extinction after proving unfit for this harsh environment. But even the planets that escaped the worst-case scenarios had still lost contact with the rest of their society. Whatever fate had in store for them, they would face it alone. And so, the Gabaras aren't nearly what they used to be, but still, they've certainly left their mark on the universe. Perhaps a long-lost descendant will one day reclaim some of their former glory. Or maybe one of the many uplifted creatures they had left in their wake will take up the torch and carry on. Only time will tell. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys today, but of course, I'd like to thank the wonderful people on my Discord server for all of their help. Especially Sodaleaf, who designed the Mayantarians, and Tokiyaki, who designed the Kokal, with the help of Gyakazilla. Along with the frankly overwhelming number of people that helped with all the lore and the fan art and everything else. You guys are the real beating heart of the series, and I can't wait to design another alien with you. But until then, don't die. See you later.
You're messing with my drug life. Quit messing with my drug life.